What's up, everyone? How's everybody doing out there? We have to kick it. We have to kick it up a notch. Hopefully, everybody can hear us out there. Whoever's watching us, thank you very much. I just want to point out we tried something like this last week, Saturday, but since we're just noobs for trying to do podcasts and things of that nature, I viewed back and I know that, no audio for some reason. But we're learning everything in advance as we can. We try to catch up, with items and stuff like that we can get around to just as long as, we get seen and heard and stuff. Because this is something that I've always wanted to try out. And I talked to Jade to see if he wanted to be in on it too, because this segment that we still don't have an official name to it, we just call it Wrestling Weekly Review, even though we kind of look back at everything that took place this week with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, all of that, the good and bad. We're going to come out and talk about it because, as fans, we got to state our opinion of what we like and what we don't like, what we want to see change, and what everything should stay as is. So before we get started, everything that is said right here on this platform, it's only our opinion, doesn't reflect on anybody from the platform, the companies we talk about, or anyone else in general for that matter. And now, don't have a cow, man. So, Jay, let's get started. This is the first Wrestling Week review. What I just showed you just a few minutes ago, it turns out Kairi Sane, she's not gone from WWE. So I don't know if you heard anything about that. But if you haven't heard anything about that, it turns out that Kairi Sane is under a new role within WWE. So that means she may be she's not gone as we thought. She's not performing right now, but as we get into the story, it turns out that she is an ambassador, I believe, of Japan. But I'm going to get into the story right now, that way you can listen in. So the story goes, Kairi Sane is returning this Sunday, sort of. Kairi Sane hasn't had a match since August 20th and was written off of television for good. So she can return home to Japan, even though her contract with the company is not yet up. So now we know that Sane would work with WWE in Japan as far as being an ambassador of the brand, and she's been given a new role by WWE. So under the sources of J Sports, WWE account on Twitter, it is mentioned that Kairi Sane will lend her voice this Sunday as a part of the Japanese commentary team for Hell in a Cell this Sunday. And pretty much she's going to be a part of the commentary team as a guest for this Sunday. And it is tweeted, Kairi Sane is here. Maybe you can hear behind the scenes stories that you can usually know, behind the scenes stories of superstars. It will be available around 6 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. But that's for Wednesday, October 28th. But nonetheless, Kairi Sane, she's going to be the ambassador in Japan. And obviously she's going to be lending her piece as a guest commentator for the Japanese team for Hell in a Cell this Sunday.
Well, the last thing I remember was that Kairi Singh was written off months ago in that tag match with the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, when they faced off against, ironically, the team of Bailey and Sasha Banks, who they will now face off tomorrow night for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell. But yes, I would like to say it is good to know that Kairi Singh is still in good graces with the WWE and in this new role of playing an ambassador for her native homeland, the Orient, the land of the rising sun, where many of or select of the WWE's talent are currently under contract with. And it could have been different for Kairi this year, that she could have had a much proper way to for her to be exited from the scene, but nonetheless her commitment still to WWE never wavered. But of course, like I just mentioned, and I'm gonna brief about this for those of you watching. If you have to select between Bailey or the Boss, let me say this: Bailey will not in any way, shape, or form relinquish that SmackDown Women's title, but the Boss will not be denied either. Only one of those could come out of Hell in a Cell with the SmackDown Women's Championship.
I got inside scoop that supposedly it's been leaked out the story of the winners for Hell in a Cell tomorrow night. And I'll say this right now. For people that are watching right now, if you don't want to know the results of what's going to happen tomorrow at Hell in a Cell, I suggest you mute it for now or give us 2-3 minutes and then you can come back. That's the last thing that we want. But nonetheless, I'm going to go into the leak in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Supposedly Sasha Banks, I might be wrong, supposedly Sasha Banks is going to take the SmackDown Women's Championship tomorrow night. Because this has been something in the works already for such a long time. I think we've been waiting too long as fans for this explosion to come about as far as Sasha Banks and the Bailey storyline. It really took too long for it to explode the way it did.
Not to mention that streak of championships, because if I can quote Mick Foley said, like, do you want to be a champion or do you want to be a statistic? And no disrespect to Bailey. Bailey is a very good wrestler, but quite frankly, this whole domination, this whole streak of carrying on the SmackDown Championship, the Women's Championship for far too long, quite frankly, it could get annoying, because far too long the fans just want to see, oh yeah, we like you, we respect you, no, but that's got to stop, quite frankly.
Yeah, it may be the case, but also you got to understand there's really no new opponents for Bailey that she can drop the title to. Already for the last number of months, she wrestled. She already wrestled Lacey Evans. She's wrestled Nikki Cross. She's wrestled Alexa Bliss. She's wrestled just almost Naomi. She's almost wrestled almost everybody in the SmackDown locker room. But for some reason or another, the company just don't feel that any of them can carry the ball, and obtaining that championship, unfortunately. So that's why Bailey's been holding it for record numbers already for far this long. So if it's going to be dropped to anybody, might as well be Sasha Banks. And I think this will definitely seal it all tomorrow night at Hell in a Cell for that to happen. So moving on to another story. Right here I'm looking at AJ Styles, and you remember the picture that I just showed you a couple of hours ago, where I saw on Facebook that AJ Styles just yesterday at a Chevrolet dealership, I guess in the state of Georgia. I don't know if it's anywhere close to where he lives because AJ's from Oregon.
From Gainesville.
From Gainesville, Georgia. He just purchased himself a 2020 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, a red one. And it's very cool. I don't know that much about vehicles and stuff, but I think the Stingray looks badass. I've always been a sucker for Corvettes ever since I was a kid. And before obtaining an SUV, I even wanted to see what it was like myself to actually be inside of a Corvette. And now I'm like, damn, I just wish I was less chunkier, not that tall. And I think if I would have had the money, I would have spruced up really well for a freaking Corvette. But speaking of AJ Styles, I think what was interesting last Monday on Raw, we got to see AJ Styles with the guy that's been doing security for the Raw Underground segments in the last number of months. Now, supposedly, I believe he's the bodyguard for AJ Styles. So I'm looking back at the story, and pretty much the story goes, could AJ be getting a heavy? In this year's WWE draft, we saw AJ Styles gets branded back to Monday Night Raw. In his first night back, he faced off Jeff Hardy and Seth Rollins. To me, that was an unexpected match, that triple threat match. I don't know why. I don't know where Jeff Hardy was, but he called it a triple threat tag match. That wasn't the case. I don't know where Jeff Hardy was, but yeah, that was a trip. That was a major throw off. I'm all like, a tag match? Where's your partners then? But nonetheless, that triple threat tag, it was cool. Obviously, that was not on the card. It just took place last minute, and it was awesome to watch. It was really awesome. So as far as what is WWE going to do with AJ Styles once already on Monday Night Raw? So the idea that was pitched was that they're going to give AJ Styles a bodyguard, and it's none other than the 7'3" bouncer for Raw Underground. His name is, and forgive me if I don't pronounce his name right, is Jordan Almabayan. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it, but I'll just call him Jordan until I hear his name a little bit more and it sinks in. But anyway, this bodyguard, how is it going to work? Supposedly it's unclear. That's the only idea that has been pitched for him before it even officially took place. But my opinion, I think AJ having a bodyguard, that's already another Shawn Michaels Diesel type of thing, and we already seen this idea way too often in the last number of years. I think maybe within the 5-10 year stretch in the past. For some it worked, for others it didn't work. Just something to work with, and then the idea gets scrapped, as all the other ideas that we've been seeing lately get scrapped, because I don't know what the hell is WWE doing. But when they seem that they're on something, it's just dead in the water and they move on to something else. My opinion, do I see them working in the long run? Only time can tell. They have something rolling. I really don't know how it's going to get good from here, but I think they couldn't have give this tall guy to anyone better than AJ Styles, to be honest. So I guess it all depends on where the heck is going to roll from here. So to me, Jade, I think this is all a huge question mark.
And on that I agree. And like you mentioned, because for years we've seen the phenomenal one constantly flourish and flourish. But then right there, that's where we see the the comparisons as well as the contrasts, because the contrast aside, people see the Phenomenal One as today's version of the Heartbreak Kid. But I'm gonna side with you on this one. I'm gonna say nothing against Jordan. I mean, at least Jordan's got a very good role. But I've always said it, time and time again. We gotta let the phenomenal AJ Styles be the phenomenal AJ Styles. Could Jordan be an answer to him? We don't really know, because we saw how off camera, how the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels swarmed with got that mesh, if you will, with the man we know as the Big Daddy Cool Diesel, alias Kevin Nash. But the whole point is that if it could work out for the Phenomenal One in the long run, and hopefully open more doors and add more accolades to his stock, hopefully it'll do good. But I also got to say, it might not be as good. So quite frankly, it could work also in the short run. But I gotta say, you gotta let AJ Styles be AJ Styles. He might not need a muscle. He's fine by him. He's fine by himself, as long as he is bringing his arsenal ring. He brings his moves. He brings his Pele. He brings his Styles Clash. He brings his forearm. He brings his tenacity, and that's what drew me to AJ Styles back when he was what is now Impact Wrestling. He was tenacious. He was driven. He was passionate. He brings that day in, day out with that grind constantly in the ring, and that is why he is a superstar that everybody worldwide admires to this very day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That's what drew me to AJ Styles as well, because you were rambling about this guy back then when he was still young and he was, fresh in presentation, and just he was working his ass off. And I'm glad that we're getting to see also how little he did in WCW before the place closed, and when NWA TNA got started, AJ just continued from there, and he just grew, and he was one of the main staples on why TNA was a success, because of AJ. And not only AJ, but Joe, Creed, Christopher Daniels, amongst others. They're the ones that helped, TNA be TNA at that time, when TNA was an explosive company at the time. So unless I can think of anything else related to Raw, I'm gonna jump to AEW, because there's one thing that needs to be addressed as far as with the championship tournament that took place on Wednesday. There were three things that I liked of Dynamite, but we're gonna jump to one of the segments, and that was obviously with the championship tournament. So, of course, one of the matches that took place in that tournament was the Lucha Brothers between Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., whatever you want to call him, Cero Miedo or Pentagon Cero, whatever you want to call him. That's how I call him, Pentagon Jr. He still rocks. Cero Miedo. So it's unfortunate to hear that because of one of the moves that Fenix was trying to do, walking the ropes, he unfortunately got injured. And the worst came to shove, and now, because he wasn't clear for 24 hours, and next week's episode of Dynamite is not going to be live, it's actually going to be taped, so they already taped it just 2 days ago. Fenix wasn't cleared for him to continue in the tournament, so he gave up his spot to his Lucha brother, Pentagon Jr. So, Jade, we're going to see a rematch from All In. And I was there live Kenny Omega, Pentagon Jr., they kicked a lot of ass at the Sears Center in 2017. My goodness. If only I can watch that match all over again. I mean, it was just amazing. I was so jaw-dropped. They put on one hell of a show for their match. And now we're going to see it in AEW next week on Wednesday. I really can't say who's going to win it here because Kenny Omega's coming back as the cleaner. And what an arrogant schmuck. I mean, you can talk about Kenny Omega all you want and everything that he's done in Japan. I haven't seen everything that he's done because, once again, I'm a late bloomer for some of the things that takes place in the business. And when it came to the Bullet Club, I was a late bloomer. And Kenny Omega was already kicking a lot of ass, making a lot of accolades in Japan. But the man is incredible to watch. Just incredible. And I was fortunate of meeting him and the Elite when they were a part of the Bullet Club, when they came to Chicago and did the whole meet and greet session in the Pro Wrestling Tea Store. I mean, everybody that I got to meet, from Kenny to Cody, the Young Bucks, to Hangman, and even the villain Marty Scurll. I mean, all of those guys were fantastic. But I felt I connected more with Cody, with Hangman, with the villain for sure. Kenny was too beat up in the match that he had. I think it was one of the pay-per-view matches, I believe. And Kenny was just sore because that event happened on a Sunday, and the autograph session just happened the next day. And on top of that, it was Kenny's birthday too. So, I mean, he was beat up, but he still made it because, there were fans that wanted to meet and greet him. So I let him know what I felt about the match. He did a stupendous job. And I told him, like, hey, man, great job last night with the match that you had. And he was like, oh, thank you, And he did a signature that was at the Bucks. I think they were a little sore too, but it's all part of that. That spectacle of themselves and how they carry themselves as performers and wrestlers and all of that. Still, I just couldn't believe that I was there meeting these guys because I'm an old fart watching wrestling still and close to my 40s, and these guys are young guys making it in the business, but hey, they deserve all the success and everything. But back to Pentagon Jr. and Kenny Omega for this Wednesday. We're going to see a rematch from All In my opinion. Maybe things are different now after, 3-4 years later, but I think we're going to see one heck of a match. But let me get into the story. So it turns out Rey Fenix is not cleared. So we witnessed that a spot kind of went wrong with Pentagon and Fenix. The two were fighting on the middle rope when Fenix went for a twisting head scissors. When the two landed on the mat, Fenix landed on his head, neck, and left shoulder. Fenix was checked on multiple times throughout the remainder of the match and was said to be sore backstage after. So it was reported that Fenix is not medically cleared to compete in the second round of the Eliminator tournament against Kenny Omega. So it was confirmed the next day, this week, which was Thursday, and AEW posted a video on their Twitter where it is made official that Rey Fenix, with Eddie Kingston as witness, he's going to pass on his spot to Pentagon Jr. So pretty much Pentagon accepts it graciously. Rey Fenix forfeits, and we're going to see someone fill in that spot. So hopefully Rey Fenix get well. We want to see you back soon because you and Pentagon, as the Lucha Brothers, you guys kick major ass, big time. And you guys are, they're my favorite tag team as far as luchadores are concerned. They show for a lot, big time. So to finish out this story, of course, Pentagon's going to face Kenny Omega in the second round of the Eliminator Tournament match, with the winner moving on to the finals at Full Gear November 7th. And of course, like I mentioned, next week's episode of Dynamite is not going to be live. It's going to be taped, but it's going to be shown obviously on Wednesday night on TNT, of course. So Jade, like because we did watch the AEW, obviously not live because I always DVR Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW, but we saw how impressive these two know each other, Pentagon and Rey Fenix. They had a hell of a match, but geez, even I was in fear that all it can cost is one slip and somebody can get injured, because these two are just so talented, so athletic, so aerial, so high flying. They'll do everything it takes to give the audience a good show.
And yeah, I want to point out that by watching that match last Wednesday night, both Phoenix and Pentagon gave it throughout, because that one spot was there, because whoever had to win that match had to face Kenny this upcoming Wednesday, and both Phoenix and Pentagon gave it throughout, and both men were willing to put it on the line. But of course, there is a saying in the industry where accidents can happen. You never know what can happen. And supposedly last Wednesday, Phoenix was the projected winner of the match, but unfortunately, as mentioned, he did get hurt. So therefore, due to medical concerns, Phoenix is unable to continue in this contendership tournament, and therefore Pentagon will have to fill in. And will this match be identical to the match to the one I like because I seen it here at home online, of course. It might be the same. It might be the same intensity, but could be a lot more because between Pentagon and Kenny, they will give it a lot. And of course, other than that match will be Wardlow and I think I forgot his name. He was also in that
who faced Wardlow
and Hangman.
Oh, who advanced? Yeah,
advances. Yeah. So
because Wardlow defeated Jungle Boy,
right?
And they had a stupendous match. Jungle Boy, heart and soul, he gave it his all, but unfortunately, Wardlow was just too much. I wanted to see Jungle Boy advance, to be honest, but Wardlow was just too much, man. He's all muscle, heavy hitter. Hey, he'll annihilate you and treat you like roadkill in order to advance in this tournament.
Right. So therefore, this Wednesday, you could pretty much say we could cut the tension with a knife, because I don't know who will win in that semifinal match between Hangman and Wardlow, as well as this semifinal match with Pentagon and Kane. And they're gonna give it throughout. But all I know for sure is that out of these semifinalists, there will only be two finalists that will advance and will get the number one contendership spot at Full Gear. And a lot of people might possibly speculating that it could be Heyman versus Kenny prior to Full Gear, and out of only one of them can advance. But we have to see for ourselves what will take place this Wednesday night.
So while we're on the topic of the world title eliminator tournament, the pretty much the reintroduction of Kenny Omega as the cleaner, I guess it's in a way meant to be, because since he broke out of the tag team scene with Hangman, now Kenny can focus on his singles career. So he's bringing that old school element back to wrestling in general, but for the first time in AEW, because the cleaner was popular since New Japan Pro Wrestling and in the Bullet Club. Like I said, Kenny is a stupendous performer. broke the David Meltzer 5-star rating, now a 10-star rating, whatever the heck that is. But I guess that's the way it went at that time. I don't know if we're really going to see that in full effect or maybe just shades of it. But what I saw as far as the tournament was concerned, and by the way, Sonny Kiss wasn't scheduled programmed to face Kenny Omega. It was supposed to be Joey Janela. But I think, if I remember correctly, Joey Janela got, I think he got tested positive. I could be wrong. Because I don't got all the facts in front of me. But from what I recall watching, he wasn't there. Sonny Kiss took his place. But still, the match, it barely lasted, like 2-3 minutes. Because all he did was the that high knee. I forgot what it was called.
The V trigger.
The V trigger, and then the one wing angel. That was it. And then arrogantly, I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. It's like back to 2000 freaking 15, 16 all over again. I'm like, damn, man. But you know what? It's been missed at the same time because those were the good old days of when Kenny Omega really kicked a lot of ass in wrestling. So, yeah, that was the switch. It was originally supposed to be Joey Janela, but it ended up being Sonny Kiss. So, Kenny advances with the Lucha Brothers. Of course, I really wanted Pentagon to win. But Rey Fenix, he gave it his all, heart and soul. But unfortunately, that damn injury for that move that he wanted to do obviously costed him. But still, Rey Fenix wants you to recover, get well soon, and hopefully can come back as soon as possible. Because without you, Lucha Brothers wouldn't be the same. But still, Pentagon will still kick ass. Singles-wise, none of that. And all of that. Colt Cabana, Hangman Adam Page. We knew, obviously, that Hangman was going to take this one all the way. And like I mentioned, Wardlow was just too much for Jungle Boy. He advances. So we'll definitely see Pentagon and Kenny Omega next week. I believe also we'll see Wardlow and Hangman Adam Page. So that's going to be interesting. So I think we are going to see at the very end of all of this, it'll be Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Or unless if we see Kenny Omega and Wardlow, or maybe it'll be Pentagon taking it with Hangman and Page, or Pentagon and Wardlow. I mean, it could go any other way, but the way we know wrestling's gonna go, it's definitely gonna be Omega and Page. I mean, that's how I'm feeling it right now. I could be wrong after this, but that's the way I feel that this is gonna go.
I feel the same too, because I mean, since the beginning of the year, the Elite was a tight knit. When Kenny and Hangman won the AEW tag titles, they pretty much carried the belts as much as they can. But unfortunately, things happened the way they happened. Now, FTR, who some of you may know them as another tag team back in WWE, are now the tag team champions. And
they were the Revival.
They were the Revival, yes. But nonetheless, the stage can be
now they're known as the Revival.
Yes. Yeah, but nonetheless, come this Wednesday night, the stage could possibly be set up for Hangman and Kenny to face off for the contendership finals at prior to Full Gear, because they know each other like a both, because Hangman at one point tried to get a shot at the AEW title. Kenny was at one point a former heavyweight champion, and I could pretty much say like this you're pretty much seeing two of the best guys currently on the AEW roster that you pretty much see they have right now. And if that is the case, come next Wednesday night, we'll see out of these two who will be gain a shot at the AEW championship.
All right, so let's go back to Monday Night Raw. Since this week was the season premiere for Raw this past Monday. Remember the shot that I showed you at the beginning of the show? Obviously, a new theme. I feel it's kick ass, but for in the atmosphere that Raw is in right now, it's gonna be time to tell only that track can fit best in. But with the way the show started, it started with Alexa Bliss in the ring, the Fiend coming out, and if there's like a couples thing, like a union type of thing, them together in the middle of the ring, and then all of a sudden Retribution shows up. And it's like, my God, that's crazy. It's really crazy. And give me just a minute. Alexa, stop. Speaking of Little Miss Bliss, my goodness, I'm gonna have to reprogram that thing. But anyway, you know how we had that talk that supposedly how lately Retribution's been compared to the Dark Order. My opinion, they can be no different from each other, but obviously me following Dark Order, that's kind of a bit harsh. Me following Retribution would be less harsh, but I'm getting the gist of it. Although I go for more Dark Order comedically when on being the elite on BTE, and Retribution, of course. But anyway, I think it would be even better if WWE Creative would have opened their eyes, and Retribution is already staged for the Fiend to take control over, and he would make an army out of them. He would put them to grand use. That would be the grand terror for WWE in general. If Retribution was a mean, lean machine, with the Fiend being the leader, the main boss, the main, king of Retribution, big time. And of course, with Little Miss Bliss by her side, I think that would capitalize over the Dark Order. But we know the WWE, they can have over 1,000 ideas. They can capitalize on one, and then that's it. End of the rope.
But one thing I can attest to, after tomorrow night, after Hell in a Cell, it's do or die for WWE, because after Hell in a Cell is their fourth and final important pay-per-view of the year, and that's Survivor Series. And if they want to make sure that they knock Survivor Series out of the card, they have to ensure that they have to put the focus come this Monday night on Retribution. And yes, if by chance we'll say that the Fiend Bray Wyatt was the mastermind, the main puppeteer the whole time, you got yourself good television, because quite frankly, none of us are gonna know. We have our predictions, our notions about what's gonna happen tomorrow. But this will be 48 hours after 24. Well, currently we're on Saturday, so it's 48. Tomorrow's gonna be 24. But nonetheless, you have to find a way to compel people to say, "Oh yeah, this is what we want to see on Raw and SmackDown prior to Survivor Series." The focus has to be Retribution. They have to be that menacing group that will terrorize Raw and possibly the whole WWE as a general. So from that being said, it's like after tomorrow, after Hell in a Cell, Retribution is the focus, because you got Ali and you got his guys. Quite frankly, I don't know the names of all of the guys, so I'm just gonna say his guys. And then you set the stage for what will become. He said, like, I'm just, and Ali will say, I'm running the group, but I am not the leader of the group. And then little by little, the pieces will fall into place. Because knowing WWE, they want the Survivor Series matches is the staple of the show. anything to lure people and to say, my God, those were such good matches. And if they want to bring the people, bring as much excitement from Monday until Survivor Series, the focus has to be Retribution, people.
But let's not also forget that supposedly WWE's plan for Retribution is obviously to be the mid-Carter level wrestlers, which means they're not going to become major superstars, unfortunately, because we know that one of them, unfortunately, is Dominik Dijakovic. He was doing swell in NXT, to be honest. I don't know why he got dragged into Retribution, honestly. I think he can do well by himself. He don't need to be a part of any group at all. Same thing for Mia Yim. Mia Yim was doing well until she got dragged into Retribution. And, unfortunately, that's that. And they're a part of it. The only one who was pulled out of that group was Mercedes Martinez. And they brought her into NXT to have a run for her in NXT until she got dragged into Retribution. But then they decided, you know what? She needs a run. Let's put her back in NXT. So we haven't seen her until they made that move. So hopefully after Halloween Havoc, they'll have something in the works for Mercedes Martinez, because she is a kick-ass wrestler. She's a really, beat 'em up wrestler. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have something really good for her, when that time comes. What else can we talk about? Let's move on to the next thing in AEW. Actually, there'll be two more things that we definitely got to address. But I say the best for last. We're going to leave it at the end. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for leading up to Full Gear. The way their story is rolling right now, I think they're doing it very beautifully because, of course, I don't know that much about Eddie Kingston except for what I saw on Impact with LAX, and then what he was doing in NWA with NWA Power. I was following NWA Power until, unfortunately, COVID, just screwed everything up, because here I thought 2020 was going to be the year of pro wrestling all over again. But COVID had to kill everything, and it just screwed everything up. But nonetheless, that didn't stop Eddie Kingston from coming to AEW. Supposedly he's under contract with them, and now he's already in the world title picture. They're trying to push Eddie Kingston up to that spot. Does he deserve it? I really can't say, because, like I said, I don't know that much about Eddie Kingston. I've seen some of his matches. I've seen what a good wrestler he is from the time that I've seen Impact Wrestling when he was there, the matches that he was a part of in NWA Power, and now recently with AEW. But I say he deserves it for as long as his career has been. Him and Moxley should tell a pretty good story. Should tell a very, very good story. And I'm behind Jon Moxley all the way, and I'm glad that we were there for AEW Revolution.
Yes.
The pay-per-view that took place here in town at the Wintrust Arena. And we got to see Jon Moxley finally win the AEW title. That was an amazing match, man. We were rooting for him all the way. Now, Full Gear coming. I am going to purchase it because I want to see that match. I want to see the match of Final Deletion with Sammy Guevara and Broken Matt Hardy. Can't wait for that one. And, of course, amongst other matches. But as we're on the topic of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, I want to see that story flourish even more, because obviously Eddie Kingston always stood to his ground, never sold out. He was all about the wrestling. Of course, Jon Moxley, we already know. He did a lot of daredevil stuff in CZW in his young years, was a daredevil, was pretty much a hellraiser. You know, he would go to such extreme lengths in those matches, but until we finally got to see him in WWE as Dean Ambrose, we never got to see his stuff in NXT, unfortunately, but we got the network for that. We'll catch up to that. But we knew that Dean Ambrose was going to prosper because of the way creative was going in WWE, so he wanted out. And we wanted it too for him. He needed to be out because now he's finding himself in AEW, and he's only going to go up higher from there. And despite what Eddie Kingston says about Jon Moxley, the whole that he sold out, and you know, it was supposed to be about the inmates running the asylum, but you know, Jon Moxley, you know, he's proud of everything that he's done. He's not going to apologize for buying his mom a house, for winning, for getting all those millions, for providing a life for his family, because hey, that's what a man needs to do, you know. But the way they're telling the story for this match is just, you know, it's just incredible, and I want to see one hell of a match coming up after a year.
No doubt about it. And yes, we go back to that February night at Winter Arena when Jon Moxley defeated who still calls himself Le Champion, Chris Jericho, to rightfully get the AEW title, and he's held that title for months. And yes, he had comers, he had challenges coming to him every which way. No matter if it was Brian Cage, who's now with Taz, no matter if it's the Murder Hawk Master Lance Archer with Jake the Snake Roberts, any person that comes with him, he successfully defends the AEW championship. And who knows what's going to happen come Full Gear, because Eddie Kingston will not rest until he at least says, I tasted championship gold, heavyweight championship gold. I created my stack. And no disrespect to Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston has been he's been around the circuit, like you mentioned. Yes, I've seen him in Impact, and I've seen him and we've seen him in NWA. But the thing is, in order to become a true successful star in this industry, you have to be a true student of the game. You have to know you have to know who you're dealing with, because sometimes it's not going to be the talent that's going to keep you down. It's promoters, like ironically Vince McMahon, who at one point I think Eddie Kingston has a huge axe to grind, because he probably at one point tried out for WWE and Vince turned him out. But nonetheless, can Eddie Kingston prove himself come November 7th? That's what we have to see, because in that match, and that's an I Quit match. That title match is an I Quit match, because
on top of that too,
yes,
I forgot
that title match is an I Quit match. Will we see Eddie Kingston boost his stock by becoming AEW champion, or will once again Jon Moxley retain and forces what we considered his best friend at one point to say the words "I quit"?
Yes, like I said, I can't wait for that match to take place at Full Gear, November 7th. It's going to be a very interesting one, and I know for sure that Jon Moxley is going to walk out and still AEW's world champion. That is definitely going to be one heck of a match. I cannot wait for that to happen. Another match that's going to take place at Full Gear will be the Elite Deletion between Broken Matt Hardy, and Sammy Guevara. This was something that should have happened a long time ago. This is something that should have happened months ago, to be honest, around the early stages of COVID. But unfortunately, COVID came in and, like I said, screwed everything up. But now we're going to get to see it. Now we're going to get to see it, because this is where it'll be stamped that this is definitely going to be over with. Will Sammy Guevara finally have one over Matt Hardy, or will Broken Matt Hardy continue his reign as the main deleter of all of his rivals in professional wrestling history? The Matt Hardy compound matches are just unbelievable to watch. You know, like I said about the whole late blooming stuff, if there's one thing that I hate, is being a late bloomer about a lot of things that happen in pro wrestling. Obviously, Impact they didn't have a lot. They did not have a lot of good things going, except for when Matt Hardy and Jeff decided to switch gears and go a different route. Because I'm pretty sure this is their ideas properly, not Impact Creative or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure they had the final K. I think around that time Bruce Pritchard was running it.
Yeah, I think it was still there.
So they ran to those ideas with Bruce, I believe, and that's how they got the green light. So let's say make the best of it, and they did. They had those phenomenal compound matches in Impact, one from WWE with Bray Wyatt, and now in AEW with Sammy Guevara. So having these Hardy compound matches, these deletion matches under Matt Hardy's belt from these three companies, I think that says a lot. That really says a lot about Matt Hardy's creativity, Matt Hardy's vision for entertainment of sorts for wrestling, and where all of this can go. So this is one I'm really looking forward to. Maybe a lot of fans are not feeling it that way, but this was something that I wanted to see ever since March or April of this year, and we're finally going to get to see it at Full Gear. But how we're going to see it, what is in mind for this? What are the traps that are going to be set, for these cinematic displays to go from one part to another? How is Vanguard going to be flying around and setting all these spots, for these two to combat each other? That's a big question mark on how all of this is going to be set.
And I want to point out that yes, like you mentioned, the whole compound match started ever since Impact Wrestling when Matt faced off against Jeff, and then it was Matt himself against Bray Wyatt in WWE, and then we're gonna see it now in AEW, so we could say it's a full stretch. And I want to point out that ever since he joined the Inner Circle, Sammy Guevara constantly was doing his homework. He was trying to do everything he can to learn what he felt was the expert tutelage of late champion Chris Jericho. And obviously a thorn on the side of the Inner Circle was clearly Matt Hardy. And Sammy taking it upon himself to take that thorn out of their side and try to put Matt out of commission. But little by little, they were knowing that you cannot kill Matt Hardy. But now the bigger question is, come Full Gear, are we going to see all three incarnations of Matt Hardy? Because we all know Matt Hardy because he's been out of the ranks from WWE to Impact and now AEW. No doubt about it. No one can stop Matt Hardy, and Sammy Guevara could bring everything with him, including the kitchen sink to throw. But that's not obviously going to stop Matt Hardy.
So getting into the story for the addition of this match for the card of Full Gear, it says a special match will take place at Full Gear. Since the summer, we have seen a feud between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. The two had a match back at All Out. Matt Hardy did get injured, but Matt won the match, and it wasn't over. Matt Hardy was attacked, weeks back after that happened. And the previous week it was revealed that the attacker who hit Matt Hardy was Sammy. So then it led to messages, videos, and all of that. And then, of course, Matt Hardy on his Matt Hardy brand YouTube channel, he made it official that he accepted the challenge from Sammy Guevara. So Matt Hardy obviously is gonna iron this out the way it should be set. It's gonna be one heck of a cinematic display, for us to see. Pretty sure Sammy Guevara is gonna come up with a strategy to see how he can outdo Matt Hardy and whatever he has set. So can't wait to see what is going to happen with that match at Full Gear. Besides that, we already mentioned that the AEW title I Quit match is going to take place. The Triple Threat AEW, well, let me say it my way. The Triple Threat All Elite Wrestling Turner Network Television Championship will be defended. Cody, Orange Cassidy, and Darby Allin are going to be in that match. So that one's going to be very interesting as well. That one is another match I'm looking forward to. Of course, to be announced with the world title #1 contendership tournament finals with that tournament that they got going on. Of course, also what took place on Dynamite, that four-way dance, the tag team four-way dance with the Young Bucks, Private Party, Butcher and Blade, and who's the other team? I forgot.
I'll try to remember.
It wasn't Best Friends. That I know for sure. Dark Order.
Dark Order, yes.
Dark Order.
Dark Order.
I think it was. Was it the two dopes?
Yeah,
Two dopes.
John Silver.
John Silver and
Alex Reynolds.
Alex Reynolds. There you go. So you got more brain than me. Damn brain freeze. Yeah, that match. It was all right, but we had a major feeling that Bucks were going to outshine all of them. So it's going to be the Young Bucks against FTR for those belts at Full Gear. So far it's just 5 matches on the card. So hopefully there'll be more before November 7th. So Full Gear is shaping up really good. It's going to shape up really good. And all depending on what we see on Dynamite next week as well. So now we're going to take now we're going to go for we're going to go to another story, and this is a spoiler, unfortunately. So like I said, if you don't want to listen to the spoiler and you want to check out what happens next Wednesday, then I suggest you just mute your speakers for now. But I'm not going to get into much of the story either. So maybe like about 2 minutes. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So supposedly, like I mentioned, another wrestler got injured. And that's what we're going to see on Dynamite. But let me get into the story. So all of the resources that I have, that I pretty much follow, and you should follow too, because we're not going to take all the credit for everything that we unleash here, but we just want to talk about the stories or segments, matches that we see from all shows that we like and we don't like. We want to address them here on this platform on the Ace Man Armageddon channel for the show Wrestling Weekly Review. We follow Pro Wrestling Unlimited. We follow Wrestle Talk. Those are the only 2 sources that we follow, and there's other sources that we follow in between, and we reveal those as well. So on this story from Pro Wrestling Unlimited, so it says the update after they posted about the injury of the Dynamite tapings in the match between this is between the match of Ty Conti and Abaddon. It was told by them that someone who was at the tapings that it was Abaddon who was injured and hospitalized on this past Thursday. Well, I hope it's nothing. I hope it's nothing really serious or severe, because I like Abaddon. The way they displayed her on Dark, I mean, she has been an act in the indie circuit for quite some time. I don't know for how long, but obviously she took that character in the indies and it got over. That's how AEW got a wind of her, and they wanted her to perform on AEW Dark. But I've always asked myself, she should be on Dynamite. because a look like hers you don't see on wrestling TV every single week. And that's something that AEW's got to capitalize while they have her. But unfortunately, look where this led it to. And this was Abaddon's. I don't recall Abaddon being seen on Dynamite ever. I've seen her on Dark already for numerous occasions. But this was her first spot for Dynamite, and look how all of this resulted. So let me continue on with the story. Original story was, it looks like one AEW performer has been sent to the hospital. So this past Wednesday, that's how the original story goes. This past Wednesday on AEW Dynamite, one match announced for next week was Tay Conti against Abaddon. We have seen both women in the past have decent matches, but both are still really green, and some question putting them together for a match on Dynamite. That questioning may have been justified, unfortunately. According to Space Force One on Reddit, they say that the match between Conti and Abaddon at the Dynamite tapings for next week's episode had to be stopped when one performer may have been seriously injured. They were not told who suffered the injury, whether it was Conti or Abaddon. It was stated that the injury was considered serious, and the wrestler in question was taken to the hospital to be further evaluated. Again, it was not stated if the injury in question was suffered by either Conti or Abaddon. And if they know of any other further updates, then of course, Pro Wrestling Unlimited would have it on their website. That's unfortunate to hear. That one of them, and I guess we're going to see coming out next week, or if we read into any detail along the next number of days on how all of this, comes out. It's unfortunate to hear, because Tainara Conti is another wrestler who I really dig the most in NXT, and unfortunately, WWE let her go. What it is what it is, but AEW capitalized on her being there with AEW, and they're taking everything that she has. The same for Abaddon. Abaddon obviously was over in the Indies, and they finally have her in AEW, but now I guess they want to test those waters for both of them, and unfortunately this thing happened. It's just, it kind of dings me on, how all of this, comes out, and how we're gonna, see this coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, but as I say, accidents happen, and yes, we're gonna brace ourselves to what possibly we're gonna see this Wednesday. I mean, whoever ended up getting hurt in that match, be it Abaddon or Tainara, I just want we should like to say that our hearts and prayers are with whoever or one of those, and hopefully they convalesce, and we'll see if one of them will be back on the ring very soon.
Yes, our thoughts and prayers are with, if not one of them, but for both of them to be fully recovered, and hopefully we get to see them back on TV real soon. When we talked about the Young Bucks and supposedly the heelish run that they're on right now, there is a story behind that, and I want to jump into it. Will we see full heel Bucks in AEW soon? And of course, this is from PW Unlimited on their website. So over the last few weeks, of course, Matt and Nick Jackson have done some heel things on both Dynamite and BTE. They've super kicked random people out of frustration, like Alex Marvez and Tony Schiavone and so forth. They've been fined every time by the president of AEW, Tony Khan, and they didn't care. They just simply didn't care. They tossed the money, and it's like, we'll keep on doing it. This, in the eyes of most fans, looks like the start of a heel turn. But is it really a heel turn? So here's the kicker. So according to the one and only David Meltzer, in his latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, he stated and he reported it that the Young Bucks are not turning heel. They're not turning heel. He says that this is a misunderstanding by most and that they are just doing heelish things due to recent pressure that has been put on them. The Bucks won a fatal four-way tag match, of course, this past Wednesday to get a shot at FTR for Full Gear. After the match, the Bucks were attacked by FTR and Hall of Famer and Four Horsemen member Tully Blanchard. Going into the match, FTR are the heels and the Young Bucks are the baby faces. So there you have it. So we've seen the Bucks heels. We've seen the Bucks baby faces. We've seen them as the Bucks. We've seen them as Generation Me. But still, Bucks, they know the direction that they want to go and where they want to suck in the fans, where they want to dupe the fans, where they want to bring in the care and love from the fans. I mean, Bucks, they know how to control the emotions that they want to take us on the ride for. But we already know the injuries that Matt Jackson has suffered in the last number of years or so. Hopefully what we've seen this past Wednesday is not another serious injury. And obviously it's not, because if that would have been the case, I would have seen it on the website and I probably would have read it out loud by now. So hopefully, we'll see the Bucks come back next week and, of course, kicking ass and let FTR know that they're ready for them and to get the AEW tag titles finally.
Let me first off by saying that, does Matt Jackson gets hurt while he wrestles? Yes, he does. He does get hurt. Second of all, and just like with Kenny Omega, when the Bucks joined the Bullet Club, they thus are becoming just as brash and brazen, and this is what we're seeing. This is a throwback to when the Bucks joined the Bullet Club, and that's what they were. Little by little, starting getting comfortable in the role. It's like they were so brash and they were so brazen, but they backed it up, and that's what we're seeing right now. Back to the glory days of the Bullet Club. That's where those Bucks when they were shining. And the third, and most importantly, the word of mouth was spreading, and yes, ever since from then, you can call it professional jealousy, professional animosity that took place between the Bucks and FTR back when they were as the Revival back in WWE, because they were a part of the big time, because because FTR at the time when they were in WWE, they just flashed them. They just talk crap on them. But now things are gonna be different. Now things are gonna be different. And once they collide face to face for those AEW tag titles at Full Gear, it's time to put up or shut up. The question will be, will the Revival still walk out of Full Gear, still the tag champions, or will the Bucks will finally stuff? Well, let's just stuff them with socks in their mouths.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another answer that we want to look forward to. But let's jump to end us talking about Dynamite. I really don't recall anything that I've really hated or disliked from AEW. But I think the topper out of everything that happened in AEW last week was the act with Chris Jericho and MJF. I mean, at first I didn't get this little act, how MJF is trying to be the mirror of Chris Jericho and how they act alike and they think alike. And it's like, oh, well, they could be one and the same. But the segment of the, what was it called?
Le Dinner Debonair.
The Dinner Debonair. I mean, that's just, another iconic act from Le Champion, Chris Jericho and MJF. Here they are debating or trying to order to see who can up one another on how to order a steak, from medium to medium rare, or I didn't even heard none of them say well done. What's wrong with ordering the steak well done, guys? Can you tell me that? What's wrong with ordering a steak well done? I be ordering it well done from time to time if I'm in an expensive Mexican restaurant.
Yes.
But I would still like to try Matson's one
Yes.
day.
Yes. Nonetheless, that Le Dinner Debonair last Wednesday when MJF and Chris were sitting side by side and they ordered their meals and those two were engaged in conversation, and all of a sudden it led to like what was deemed a Broadway number, where I think with those women, I think they were the Jaguars cheerleaders, and they were singing and dancing. And
I think they were the Jaguars cheerleaders.
I think so because the AW doesn't have enough money to hire models or that.
Well, you don't know. I mean, they've been prospering as of late. If they got extra women on the side to be a part of this act, I'm pretty sure they would. Yeah. They were hired.
Yeah.
You know? and if they have that experience too, to be dancers for that.
Yeah. Yes. And this is my take on the segment of Le Dinner Debonair. And I gotta say, the segment is cheesy, but at the same time, it just makes you wanna whet your appetite. So it makes you just it makes you want to drool, because cheesiness aside, there's a certain element that you just can't you can't take out of it, because pretty much Chris and MJF pretty much come together, and yes, they were singing and dancing and kicking the heels off, and it was truly a somewhat memorable segment.
So let me get into the story of the segment of Dinner Debonair, and this is from WrestleTalk.com. So the story goes, that episode had a ton of highlights, but nothing has gotten fans talking quite like Dinner Debonair. Chris Jericho and MJF, they took their dinner segment to a whole other level, and I agree, performing a full-on Broadway song and dance number. Jericho, on his podcast, has revealed some of the details for the filming of the segment. Oh, yeah, and I remember having to watch the report on YouTube, and, of course, the stories that I've read. Supposedly, all of this segment got done before even Dynamite went on the air on that precise Wednesday. Can you believe that? But let me get into the story if you don't believe me. So Jericho revealed some of the details of the filming of that segment. In particular, he mentioned that they filmed until 2 a.m. and the editing wasn't finished until 22 minutes before it aired on Dynamite. So they have the footage on the report behind the scenes. If you guys want to check that out. So this is what Chris Jericho shared, quote unquote. He says, and I quote, "If you only knew what we went through to get that up on air. Basically, we had that ready to go about 22 minutes before it aired, and we filmed last night, I guess Wednesday, I believe, or Tuesday, could be wrong, until about 2 a.m. You never know what's going to happen on live TV, but you buckle up, get the job done, put on a great show, and make sure you guys have fun." And they succeeded. I mean, just watching that, and I still have it on demand. If I wanted to just watch him back or even watch the clip on YouTube, I don't know why, but that just made me smile. How these two acted, singing and dancing, they literally made me smile. I just can't get off it. I think this segment is one of the highlights for 2020. To be honest, it should be somewhere in the top 10, and we should talk about what should be the top 10s for WWE side. Doesn't matter what, SmackDown, NXT, and what are the highlights for top 10 for the AEW side. But the Dinner Debonair should be in there within the top 10, if not the top 5, my opinion. So to finish out the story, Jericho and MJF have been playing a game of cat and mouse in recent weeks with both trying to get the other to admit that they want a team together. Well, pretty much MJF wanted to be a part of the Inner Circle. It hasn't resulted in anything concrete, but we did get the segment out of it. So next week, Jericho will be holding a town hall meeting regarding whether MJF should join the Inner Circle. Similarly, Jericho has spoken in the past about the filming process for AEW. In particular, he has talked about the Stadium Stampede and Dynamite street fight matches, which, of course, they were awesome to watch. They really were. Both of which were said to be highly creative, with filming lasting longer so as to incorporate more ideas. So, what do you think, Jay, that they have been filming this hours before this segment even went on the air on Dynamite?
I gotta admit, I gotta hand it off to Chris Jericho, to MJF, and the personnel and AEW, because they had their sights set on this segment. And yes, of all the segments, of all the things that took place last week's Dynamite, this truly was one of the most iconic moments of the telecast, and possibly one of the most iconic moments that we should remember AEW in this year of 2020.
Okay, so that's pretty much it with AEW. As we move on to NXT, there was something that I didn't like, and that was the main event. The main event was just absolutely crap and hocus pocus. It was supposed to be a tag team match for the NXT titles, and it was originally supposed to be Breezango against Undisputed Era. So one of the members of Undisputed Era gets taken out, and I believe that was Bobby Fish. I believe it was Bobby Fish. I could be wrong. It sucks. Now we're going to have to get cue cards for next time. But nonetheless, one of the guys got hurt by this mysterious guy, and Undisputed Era was in some sort of a dilemma, obviously. And all of a sudden, this shot gets passed to Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. And GM Regal, allowed it. So then the main event got switched, and it was Lorcan and Burch against Breezango for the titles. And then this guy that was responsible for taking out one of the Undisputed Era guys attacks one of the members of Breezango from the top rope, and Burch and Lorcan, they capitalized. And then at the very end, it was revealed to be that phony-ass football player turned pro wrestler, Pat McAfee. I mean, really, dude? I mean, it's bad enough you lost to Adam Cole in that one match at that one event that took place, more than 2-3 months ago? And now all of a sudden you want to redeem yourself? It's crap. It's pathetic. But I say it as a fan, but I guess in a way, also, I think the Undisputed Era, in my opinion, is turning soft. They have no shades of what they used to be, to be honest. Ever since Kyle O'Reilly got a shot at the NXT title, and Adam Cole is, all for it, I think these guys are turning over a new leaf. So I guess time will only tell if this group is even going to stay together or not. But looks like I think Undisputed Era is turning soft, my opinion. But yeah, the main event was just absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. They had other matches here and there. There was also the return of Ember Moon. She had a good match. That was that. And then I think Legado del Fantasma, they had a 6-man tag. And then that was that. So as we're approaching to Halloween Havoc, the matches for Havoc are okay, but it's like I don't know why, but I feel like it's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of push, to be honest. But I'm still gonna watch it because it's on TV and I already have it programmed on my DVR. So if there would be one match to look forward to for Halloween Havoc, I think one would definitely be Johnny Gargano and the Archer, the NXT North American champion.
Damien?
Yes, Damian Priest.
Damian Priest.
That match would definitely be awesome to watch because even though they had I think they were involved in a triple threat or fatal 4-way, but they never had a one-on-one match. So that would be one to to look forward to see who would win it. I think Damian Priest is still going to keep it nonetheless. But now that we have time a little bit, I'm going to say the predictions for I'm going to say the predictions actually for Hell in a Cell. Because Halloween Havoc, I mean, it can go either way, but Hell in a Cell, obviously Roman Reigns is going to keep it. But I really want to see in the works this tribe that is about to ensue. So all it takes for that for it to come true is for Jay to say, "Hey, Roman, you are the tribal king. You are the man. You're the head of the table. You're the champion. You're the one who's getting money for the family. You're the one who's providing food for the family. You are the man. We're behind you. We're your followers." That's all that's got to be done. Sasha Banks is going to get the SmackDown Women's Championship. That's pretty much that. What else? Drew McIntyre, he's definitely going to keep it, defeating Orton. And there's not a lot of what? Huh?
Briefcase.
Oh, that's another thing. The whole briefcase story. I think it's all lame. They just want to take it away from Otis. Here's the thing, if they're going to take it away from Otis, it's going to be dead in the water. And at the end, if Miz does take it, who's going to really care? I mean, Otis is cool as a character, gimmick, whatnot. Miz has been around for the longest time, but if it's going to end the way it's going to end, nobody's going to care. Because I don't think at the end, if Miz does take the briefcase, he ain't going to get the belt. I think that's going to be a wasted opportunity nonetheless. If Otis still sticks with it or Miz takes it away from him, nobody's going to care about that paper anymore. They're just making a joke out of it now because now they don't mean a thing. It really doesn't mean a thing anymore. They're just having something to fight for in a briefcase or in a lunchbox with a document of sorts, and that's it. That's all I can say about that. It ain't gonna mean a thing. So it's like taking a candy away from a baby. That's all that it is. So unfortunately, guys, we're just gonna end it here. Like I said last week, we wanted to do a prototype to see if this show can fly. And here we are trying this again. But now we see that I guess the audio is kind of working. I don't know. We haven't got any feedback to hear if you guys can hear us for everything that we just said right here out of the hour and 24 minutes we've been on. But we're going to cut it off right here, and we're going to take a look back to see if we can try this again if it didn't result the way it did. But nonetheless, to everybody that has been on with us tonight, thank you very much for watching us. If you like what you see on the Aceman Armageddon brand as far as all the footage from old school wrestling and all of that, give us subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and of course, comment on those videos. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you very much. I appreciate for everybody that has subscribed as of late. Thank you very much. It is very appreciative. Guys, This is a swell Saturday night. Enjoy it. Stay safe out there. Keep yourselves covered. Socially distance. As of for now, this has been Jade Aceman X with you here, guys. Peace and love worldwide. We will see you next time. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.